A lot of people want to develop their brain, and so they buy games, mind games, brain games, in order to improve the function. They take this pill, they take that pill. But the problem with that is that's not how you truly develop your brain. You develop your brain through literal practice. You chisel in how you want your brain to look at through literal practice. So today I'm going to be talking about the skills you have to develop that actually go in hand with the brain region. We want to be able to develop our bronchus, whatever you call that part, our motor cortex cerebellum, prefrontal cortex, temporal lobe, hippocampus. You want to develop skills that actually strengthen those areas so that your brain can be connected, right? So that's the point. Like a lot of people just learn one skill, and because they're only doing one skill, they atrophy another part of their brain. An example is artists. You have artists that develop their creative part of the brain, but their ability to be able to plan out and be more business minded, that part of their brain is actually stunted. It's like having a strong arm, but a weak left arm. So we're going to be talking about that. Why? Because your brain is stimulated through learning skills, through skill acquisition. So different skills activate different parts of the brain, which is how you enhance the function, right? So you want to be able to avoid focusing on just one area, like just being one dimensional, being good at one thing. You can't do that. Like you have to master multiple skills so that your brain can think more connected, right? It's like an ecosystem where diverse animals and diverse, things thrive more. So you want to develop variety of skills over a lifetime. And the key about these skills is that they go in hand with what you like. You got to understand, humans are very curious. So you don't know how many things you actually like, but most likely you like more things than you really know. Your body knows it, but your mind does it because of your ego, right? Your body might say, let's just say you're a guy, right? Your body might like dressing or being like a fucking a fashion guy, but because you're straight, your ego doesn't let you do that, right? So you have to be able to go against what your ego says you have to do, okay? So consequences of neglecting, because if you don't do this, you will have underdeveloped areas that lead to bad habits. If you don't wire in certain areas, your own negative habits or your dark side is gonna wire those in. So you have to consciously do it, or you're gonna unconsciously develop really bad habits, right? Like doing crack. If this happens, well, you're gonna start to have disconnected thinking and less active frontal cortex. In other words, more bias, more thinking of the world myopically. For example, again, I say this because I'm from America. If the only thing you think of is of race, and the only thing you study is race and gender related, well, guess what? Because you're only focusing on one part of your brain, you don't focus on the analytical part. You don't focus on more of the cold part per se. You're only thinking about the emotions, hearts, and feelings. So because of that, you actually have disconnected thinking. So your plans are going to be disconnected from reality, right? No lo mueve tanto, pero lo mueve, pero no tanto. So conscious effort is needed to rewire it. Meaning you have wired in a lot of negative habits unconsciously. So you got to pay the price. You got to consciously wire that in. It's literally like going uphill, right? So how do you do that? Well, develop skills. So this is the first one. So you want to develop the bronchus. I forgot what to call it. I took the neuroscience, but I forgot how you say that. But this part, people, look at this part, right? So the way you do that is through developing language skills and communication skills. So it could be that maybe you're learning a language and you strengthen that part, right? It could be that you practice public speaking, or maybe writing, handwriting, not fucking typing, handwriting. This develops this part of the brain of language, and it'll strengthen that part. The next thing you want to develop are visual processing skills in order to improve your visual cortex. An example for me, I swear to God, like me, I like to think in images, but it wasn't easy. The way I developed my ability to think in images is to one, meditate, because meditation literally improves your your ability to think visually. Let me give you an example of how I'm able to think visually. Let me think about this. Okay, so imagine, and this is actually, we're going to talk about this in my seminar on Sunday about emotions. But imagine that this is all of your emotions, and this is the manifestation of different emotions, right? This is the manifestation of different emotions. This is anger. This is resentment. And so when you try to fix this problem, what it does is that it goes back inside and manifests itself as another feeling. And it gives you the illusion that you actually fixed it. But what's happening, because you're dealing with this and not the actual thing, it could easily slip back inside and manifest itself as another problem. So it's like a whack-a-mole. You never truly solve the problem. But how do you solve it? You got to realize what's happening. You can't see this because it's under your unconscious. You realize that this is really this, meaning a feeling of perpetual unhappiness. And the way you fix that isn't by fixing this, because it then goes back inside and morphs into something else. You fix it by observing this. And how do you do that? Well, you begin to observe your body. You feel your body from within. You start to realize that fixing this problem, which could be like a relationship or gaining money or getting like a new car, isn't really going to fix this, because what's happening is that this is really the unhappiness. And what's this? Unprocessed emotions from your childhood. And so when you have unprocessed emotion that you're not aware of from your childhood, you only see this because you don't know that this exists. So we're going to talk about that in that course. But anyway, so that's how thinking in images helps. But I only do that because, one, I developed my drawing skills. I developed a meditation practice, and this allows me to visualize and think with much more clarity. That's what Leonardo da Vinci did. His pen and his fingers was literally an expression of his mind. So he was able to think with more fluidity compared to most people, because the skill of thinking, the skill of visualizing, and the skill of drawing were so deeply wired that they almost became one skill, not separate skills. It's kind of crazy. So you develop your visual processing skill through drawing, sports, also sculpting. I think sculpting is literally the best way to do it. Videography, and in my opinion, also meditation, right? So that's one thing. You develop this, you develop your visual cortex, your ability to visualize. Next thing is developing motor skills. You don't just learn how to draw. You don't just learn how to express your thoughts. You also have a motor part of your brain, and you have to overdevelop it through learning skills. So it could be drawing, it could be sports, playing instruments. Like, for example, Einstein said that he was able to think more clearly when he was able to play the violin. I play the drums, and I play basketball, so those are my motor cortex, or even yoga. It could be coordination skills, right? Dancing, exercise, right? So you develop this, and you develop your occipital lobe, right? So now you got to develop your rational thinking, your prefrontal cortex. In my opinion, the best exercise is meditation, right? It literally increases your gray matter. But other things that you could do is like strategic games, like video games, World of Warcraft, or even Age of Empires. Planning, literally having goals, improves this ability to think rationally. Critically thinking, right? Other things that you could do is social skills. No. Rational thinking, meditation. I think meditation is the best way to do it, But also quitting drug habits. Like quitting negative habits, because it requires that you think more rationally, quitting habits. And so when you do that, you're able to develop this part. The next thing is developing your temporal lobe, right? Your limbic system. So you do that through, one, social skills, emotional processing, meditation, going to therapy, right? Team activities, developing your empathy. So it could be having a kid also, God forbid. Volunteering, anything that improves your ability to empathize. Actually, I recommend meta meditation. The next thing is developing your hippocampus. So that means memory and learning. This can actually be just remembering your family's number, not using your computer that much, and reading actual books, because when you read actual books, you actually remember more than reading the same book, but on a Kindle. Literally, it's kind of fucking crazy. Memory games, learning new subjects, going in school, right? Having to recite things and remember them, right? Meditation. The next thing is sensory processing. So that's your parental lobe. It's been years. So it could be cooking. That means like your senses, right? Like a cook is really good at sensing different tastes, right? So that's one thing. Learning how to do that. Cooking is one of them. learning how to cook and taste better, exploring and being around nature, right? Now, the next thing is your underdeveloped areas lead to, your frontal cortex, conscious effort is needed to rewire. There you go, people. Sorry, but I'm like, yep. So when you do all of this, what it does is that it promotes neuroplasticity. In fact, if you meditate while learning other skills and you get good sleep, your brain, this is why guys like Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci were able to think of so many different subjects. It's not just because they knew everything, but because they had such diverse knowledge. Remember, Leonardo da Vinci also played the violin. Not the violin, he played an instrument. So he was also using his motor skills, his hands, right? You gotta understand, developing skills with your hands is very important with how you think, because your hand and your brain evolved along each other. In fact, like when I make thumbnails, if I sketch out the thumbnails with my hand, they actually come out better when I edit it online, when I edit it with my computer. Doing things with your hands improves the quality of whatever you do, for the simple fact that you're able to think more clearly and you have more concentration. This is truly powerful, people. I think that not a lot of people talk about this, about how to develop your brain. You don't develop your brain through a fucking meditation. You don't develop your brain through reading that book or taking that pill. You develop your brain through skill and doing things that's difficult. And over the years, your brain will literally begin to stand out because it's so wired and so interconnected. The key to this is to make sure that the things that you do have some emotional connection. In other words, it's something that you want to do, right? Most of it, at least. Now, some of it you may not want to do, and that's fine. You develop the skill of pushing through resistance. You see, people? Like, you can't lose doing this, all right? If you guys want to learn more about this, check out my course, Emotional Mastery. It's a course that I created to give you the resilience to be able to do this, all right? Anyways, take care. Bye-bye. Perfecto. All right.